Mark had been home for hours, trying to piece together the rhythm of his life after the last few weeks of tension. The house felt heavier now, the air dense, like it had soaked in every argument, every cold glance, every unfinished conversation. The smell of coffee lingered in the kitchen, bitter, waiting. And then his phone buzzed, her name flashing across the screen. "I have a harmless date with a friend." The message read, simple, casual, almost innocent. But Mark knew better. He'd read the tiny cracks, the way she lingered over her phone, the quick glances she threw toward the hallway when she thought he wasn't watching. He let the message sit, his thumbs hovering, his heartbeat measuring the silence around him. He typed back slowly, deliberately. "Turn around." No emojis. No exclamation points. Just a simple command, sharp as a knife in a dark room. He didn't explain. He didn't plead. He had learned the value of quiet power, of letting a single phrase carry the weight of months of mistrust. Outside, the wind tugged at the blinds, scattering shadows across the living room. The faint sound of her heels clicking against the floor of the nearby cafe drifted through the speaker of his phone. Mark didn't move at first. He let the moment stretch, measured, deliberate. Each second was an unspoken warning, a silent probe into the reality he already suspected. Her reply came almost immediately. "They did." The words hit him not with panic, but with a strange, focused calm. He didn't need to understand the how or why. He didn't flinch. Instead, he pictured the cafe, the chairs, the small table by the window. He imagined her turning, the exact moment when awareness would strike, when casual confidence would meet the undeniable weight of someone finally noticing. Mark's fingers drummed lightly on the counter, not out of nervousness, but as a metronome to steady himself. He thought of the last dinner, the muted laughter, the half-hearted attempts at conversation that had felt like rituals, performances to keep a fragile peace. He had given her space before. He had walked past silence, past avoidance, past excuses. This time he would not be a background character in his own life. The quiet stretched further. He pictured the subtle tension in her posture, the tilt of her head, the small signs that had always betrayed her composure. And he understood finally that some truths couldn't be ignored, couldn't be softened by avoidance or silence. They demanded confrontation. And when that moment came, he would meet it, not with anger, not with begging, but with the unshakable certainty that comes from finally refusing to be invisible. Mark didn't wait. He grabbed his coat, keys, phone. Everything that reminded him he was moving through life on his own terms now. He didn't call a ride. He didn't check back with her. He let each step toward the cafe be deliberate, measured, a silent march that mirrored the years he had spent feeling unseen, unheard. The streets were quiet, a thin drizzle glossing the asphalt, reflecting the amber glow of streetlights. Mark felt the chill against his neck but welcomed it. It sharpened him, reminded him he was alive, that his mind was clear, focused, and unforgiving. The cafe came into view, warm light spilling onto the sidewalk. He paused for a moment, just long enough to imagine the scene inside. Her smile, the friendly laughter, the easy tilt of her head she thought was unobserved. He stepped inside. The chatter of the cafe felt distant, muffled by the steady rhythm of his own heartbeat. There they were, sitting across from each other, drinks in hand, casual yet intimate gestures punctuating the conversation. And then she noticed him, or at least she noticed the sudden wait in the doorway. Her eyes flicked up, brief, startled, and in that instant everything shifted. She stiffened. The friend's laughter cut short. A pause, almost imperceptible, but Mark saw it. The micro-expression that betrayed her composure, the slight hesitation, the abrupt halt in what had been normal, harmless interaction. The air between them thickened, charged with a tension that had been building unnoticed for months. Mark didn't speak. He didn't need to. His presence alone carried the quiet judgment he had cultivated in the silence of their shared home. The friend looked between them, confusion creeping in, sensing the storm without knowing its origin. Her lips parted, a single breath drawn as if to say something, anything to soften the moment. But Mark didn't flinch. He let the silence stretch, a mirror of the emptiness he had endured when she had withdrawn from him so many nights before. The cafe had become a stage and finally, she was on it under the harsh, unavoidable glare of accountability. In that stillness, Mark realized something he had ignored for too long. Strength isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It is measured. It is the ability to walk into a room and let the truth of your presence rewrite every false narrative. And for the first time, she understood that the harmless date she had imagined so carelessly had consequences she could no longer control. She didn't move at first. Her eyes darted from Mark to the friend, searching for an excuse, a lifeline, some way to reclaim the casual innocence she had promised in a text. But the moment had passed. Mark's calm gaze anchored the room, each second stretching long enough for every unspoken truth to settle. The friend cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably, realizing he had walked into more than he expected. Mark didn't acknowledge him. He didn't need to. The presence of judgment alone was enough. He had spent weeks cataloging moments, noticing patterns, understanding what silence could conceal, and what presence could reveal. Now, it all crystallized in the quiet authority of one man who refused to be sidelined. She opened her mouth, paused, then tried another angle, softer this time. It's harmless, Mark. Really just coffee. Mark let the words hang in the air. Harmless. Coffee. The casual lies of 1,000 small betrayals, now stripped bare in the light of the moment. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't shout. He didn't chase her excuses. Instead, he let a slow, deliberate silence fill the space between them, letting the weight of reality press on her chest. Finally, she looked down, a fraction of shame flickering across her face. And Mark knew then that the lesson had landed, not with drama, not with yelling, not with chaos, but with the undeniable gravity of his presence, the clarity of his boundaries, the quiet assertion of his worth. He stepped closer, not to intimidate, but to close the distance only he controlled. Turn around, he repeated, softer this time, almost a whisper. Not a command, not a plea, an insistence that mirrored the quiet power he had built from months of patience, observation, and silent endurance. She turned. Slowly. Every second of hesitation visible, every step away from pretense. The friend, realizing he was no longer part of the equation, excused himself, leaving them alone. And in the stillness, Mark saw everything. The lies, the avoidance, the casual disregard she had thought invisible. And he let it all settle. He didn't yell. He didn't beg. He didn't apologize for noticing. Instead, he walked out, leaving her to reflect on what it meant to be seen. Fully, without the comfort of denial. The cafe remained warm, the lights steady, but for her the shift was complete. A harmless date had met accountability. A casual deception had met a presence she could no longer ignore. Mark stepped into the rain outside, the drizzle cooling his face, the silence around him steady, controlled. And he knew finally that quiet power was not a reaction, it was a choice. One that she would remember long after the echoes of that cafe faded.